recognize that? Well, if you don't now, you will soon. It's the beautiful voice of a jazz singer-songwriter, Angie Wells. On this episode of The Ageless Traveler, we chase the blues away with the blues music. And we discover Angie's transition from celebrity image coach, makeup artist for Mad Men, and the like to songwriter with a message. And I reveal two places I loved in Las Vegas. I just spent a week there. And I'm highlighting, too, the ARTE Museum immersive experience and MEOW WOLF. What's that? Well, it's very enigmatic. You're going to like to hear about it. So thank you for joining us on The Ageless Traveler. We're dedicated to making lifelong travel easy for you so you never stop traveling. I'm your host, Adrienne Berg. Now sit back, relax. All the resources we discuss are on our show notes at agelesstraveler.com. And while you're on the site, agelesstraveler.com, click the button and join our Facebook salon and make new friends for travel life. Angie Wells, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Now, we're going to be playing snippets of your songs, your music, Truth Be Told, the new album. We're going to be discussing the title song as well and some of the other songs that I really fell in love with. But as I mentioned in our introduction, Angie Wells is a woman of many parts, not just the jazz, not just the music. We're going to be speaking about that because it's a major focus of her life, but also her original profession, which was as a makeup artist and is a makeup artist. She still does that. And you've seen her work at AMC's Mad Men, Harriet, Mudbound. So I just want to ask you a couple of questions, very personal to me, but to everybody listening, about the older skin. And I'm talking about the face right now and what you would recommend. So we're going to get this out of the way, Angie, because everybody wants to know. We are told not to wear a lot of makeup because it falls into the cracks of the wrinkles. So everybody's now running around very fresh-faced and with gray hair. I don't know if I'm in favor of that. So you're the makeup artist. You get people ready for their close-up. What do you think? Makeup or no makeup for the older skin?
Oh, well, I definitely think, makeup if you like to wear it. I have obviously a love of makeup, but I do think that as people mature, less heavy coverage is better. I like a lot of the beauty balms. They have these like beauty balm creams are really nice. They're sort of like a tinted, almost like a tinted moisturizer that really have sort of a skin-like texture, but they do blur some of the flaws or soften some of the discoloration in the skin. I do think that something that's more dewy as opposed to matte is younger and more youthful looking because youthful skin has a glow to it. And so you want to use a product that allows that. I generally powder less on older skin and I use very light application of powder. I will often use sort of what they call a matting balm as opposed to a powder so that I can take shine out where I don't want it without adding powder, because powder tends to, again, accentuate wrinkles or texture in the skin.
So these are good hints and tips, and we're going to be seeing Angie personally on our YouTube, which of course we do as soon as we finish with our podcast. We're going to be speaking to her about her transitional journey from somebody who is certainly high up there in the world of makeup artistry to somebody who is now high up there in the world of music. And you know why that's important to us, because you're never too old to be who you could have been. So now I'm going to ask Angie another makeup question, though. Some of us, me, has makeup. I think Noah had it on his ark. I mean, it's his old. I'm not kidding you. He took it over to save it from the flood. So here's the thing. They say after 6 months, you got to throw your stuff out. Is that right? Or does it really get the bacteria? Do I have to throw my stuff out?
It depends on what it is. I say mascaras definitely need to go, because the eye is very sensitive and mascaras do collect bacteria in a sort of a closed container, so it can grow in there. I generally tell
I don't
people,
even want to know what's growing now. All right. I'm sorry I asked the question. Go ahead.
I tend to get rid of my mascaras anywhere, depends on how often I'm using them. If they last that long, anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months, and then I'll get rid of them after that.
Yeah, and lipstick too. How about lipstick?
No, now lipstick will tell you when it's time to throw it away because it'll start to smell. It gets a very pungent, almost rancid smell to it. So if you ever open up a lipstick and it smells very strong, that generally means it has gone. And the same thing for foundations. Cream foundations will also get that sort of very heavy kind of a rancid smell because of the oils in them. So yes, you'll be able to smell it when it's time to get rid of those. And I have lipsticks that I've had for quite some time. So no, I always say if it still smells fresh and the texture is good, you can use it.
Sort of like fish. All right. We'll let that pass. I only have 2 more questions because I'm such a jazz lover. I want to get to the jazz. But 2 questions because I know everybody wants to know. So everybody is going gray. This is like the new badge of I am not ageist. I'm not going to, dye my hair. So mascara and eye makeup color. My friends with blue eyes, they look magnificent with gray hair, or the whiter the better. But I just look like who did it and ran. So I would like, because my eyes are just plain ordinary brown. Could I do something to like spiff it up to look better in gray?
Oh, absolutely. Now let me ask you, before you were gray, what color was your hair?
I still dye it blonde, but before I was blonde, I had brown hair.
Okay.
Brown hair, yeah. Brown eyes, brown hair.
Brown eyes, brown hair. Okay, so is your skin tone, I'm going to make an assumption. Do you look better in colors? I'm not going to make an assumption. I'm actually going to ask a question. Do you look better in colors like blue and pink and purple as opposed to earth tones?
Yeah, colors are better. I have one really cool thing to tell everybody. Because we are a travel show, so I have to throw a little travel here. But we're also a culture vulturing travel show. So that's why I definitely want to talk about jazz. I traveled to LA, and there's something that a lot of people don't know they can do. And they go to Max Factor.
You had your colors done.
Yes.
Well, I actually am a certified image consultant as well. So I used to do that, like where I would actually drape you with all of, different colors of fabric and tell you whether you were warm or cool. It was even actually a bit more varied than what you would get at the Max Factor Museum, which was great, though, because it shows you at Max Factor how, Lucy's room, the color she sat in because her hair was red. And so all of that really does matter. Basically, you're probably a cool tone person. So what I would say, if your eyes are brown, you have gray hair, and your skin tone is probably rosy as opposed to peach.
Right.
So you could actually do colors like grays. Smoky colors are nice around. Navies are good. Navy blue, gray. If you did a brown, it would need to be a taupey or a cooler brown as opposed to, a warm red brown. You want to stay away from that because that's not going to complement your skin tone. And the thing that I always say to people, you'll know when the color is right because it lifts you up. When the color is not good, it kind of flattens you out. That's the best way I can describe it. It brings you forward when color is good. It pops. And when it's not a good color for you, it actually can kind of bring you down and kind of make you look less vibrant.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break. You're going to hear some of Angie's beautiful music. You can find her music at angiewellsmusic.com. And we're going to get into this part of the conversation. But I do want to make a bridge for what you just said. One of the things that in the world of the older adults that we begin to feel sometimes is invisible. It's a word often used in the field of gerontology. People are feeling invisible as they get older.
Mm-hmm.
The business of not wearing makeup, not doing your hair, wearing certain colors so that you float into the background is all part of it. It's all part of it. You see images of older adults and you say, gee, I don't want to look like that. So you don't want to look like anything. And you begin to pull back on your fashion. Don't do it. Be loud, proud, and seen. And that fits right into what you said, Angie, about that if it looks like you are receding, it's the wrong color for you.
Right.
You want to be out there and bright. So listen to some of this beautiful music, and you'll know what Angie is all about better than anything I could ever say. And you'll hear a little bit about our next trip that we're going to together in Portugal, and we shall then return and talk about the beauty and the culture of jazz. Don't you guys go anywhere.
And no regrets. I still believe in chasing dreams and placing bets. But I have learned that all you give is all you get. So give it all you've got.
We are going to Portugal. When? May 11th. When do we come back? Well, the 24th, but we could always extend it if that's what you'd like. We explore lovely Portugal and its islands with Colette Tours, a top tour operator that's given us the best for less. Now we'll discover the capital city of Lisbon, charming coastal villages, remote islands. We'll relax. We'll enjoy multi-night stays at Azorian Island of St. Michael, sunny Madeira, the pearl of the Atlantic. Now, Colette has been making guided travel easy for over 100 years. All the details are taken care of: the flights, the incredible culinary inclusions, hotels, sightseeing, UNESCO experiences, culture vulturing with Fado, a UNESCO music destination. And your only job is to have the time of your life. You'll never even touch your bags once you get started. So don't miss out. Everything you need is on agelesstraveler.com. Look at the featured travel. You'll see our Portuguese May event. Terrific. You have a discount there. It's written there very clearly. And most importantly, if you make your deposit, you will be able to get a 100% refund by January 10th. That is the date that these discounts disappear. You don't want that to happen. So please do take a look at agelesstraveler.com, featured travel. Go with us to Portugal. I have worked with the tourist board there. I have been there at least 3 times. Last time just this August. I've psyched out all of the restaurants we want to go to, the museums, the art, the culture, and best of all, in the Azores, we'll be able to hike or walk or swim, whether you're sitting in the armchair or whether you've got the backpack on your back. The level is right for you. We'll make sure of that. So that is the Ageless Traveler, featured travel, our Portuguese trip with Colette coming right up.
And leave you with the memories you've memorized to keep your winters warm.
So we are back, and I want to remind everybody who heard that terrific music that there's a lot more where that came from. Truth Be Told is Angie's new album. You can get that on iTunes. You can certainly download it. You can go to angiewellsmusic.com. All of these are on our show notes. Don't forget that anything we mentioned, even that Max Factor Surjoid, is going to be on our show notes so that you don't have to take any notes. You can see everything by going to our website, listening to our podcast, or on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Okay, thank you so much. I was speaking with Angie Wells now. She is a twofer in the sense that she is a well-known, you've seen her work on Mad Men and Harriet and Mudbound, makeup artist of the stars, but she's also somebody who has infused her music with important messages about civil rights, many other things too. So let's go to that first. You could have decided to sing. We just heard your voice. Anything. But no, jazz. Why jazz?
Natural love of the music. When I was a little girl, my dad was a huge jazz and blues fan. And so that was the music that was played in our house most of the time. And on Sundays, my dad was a barber. So Sunday would be his first day off of the week. He was off on Sunday and Monday. And on Sunday, his day was, he'd get up, he'd get his coffee and read the paper, and he would start pulling out stacks of vinyl and playing his jazz collection and his blues collection. And I would sit with them and enjoy the music, and we'd, talk about certain songs. And so that's where my love of that music came from. And when I was
interesting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have to answer this question. By the way, as a total aside, a lot of my listeners are going to know who Perry Como is. Perry Como, so important. But he was a barber before he became a singer.
Oh, interesting.
So
yeah.
there you go. I just want to ask you about church. I have almost never heard a singer who does jazz not say, oh, they started singing in church. Did you do that?
I did start singing in church as a little girl in the choir. I did. Yes, I did.
I don't know what we would do without church. I mean, aside from everything else it's supposed to bring, it seems to have brought us some of the greatest singers that ever lived. Okay, so let's go back. So you heard the vinyls, you fell in love with jazz, and you made that decision. Now, jazz is great. I go every Thursday night to a place called Jazzville here in Palm.
In Palms, I performed there.
Oh, my goodness.
I was there last year.
Oh, fantastic.
This year, January. Sorry, it was this past January. Yes.
And believe me, the only reason I didn't see you was that I was away, because it's a place that you go to, and it's rare. It is honestly rare. I mean, I'm from New York, and even in New York City, I can name 4 places maybe that are dedicated to jazz, maybe 3.
Well, there's a few more, actually. I was in New York this summer. There's a few more.
What's your top? What's the top? Tell us where to go to hear.
I would say Dizzy's in New York.
Okay. Well, that's part of Lincoln Center, right?
Right, that's part of Lincoln Center. There's also Zinc Bar. Yep. There is the Jazz Standard. There's, the Vanguard. Wait,
yes,
one of them closed, because one of them closed. I think this Jazz Standard closed.
It did. The Vanguard. Got Blue Note downtown.
Blue Note, and we got Smoke. And then there's also, oh my gosh, and it's right next to Mesro. Why can't I think of
Well, you got Birdland.
But you got Birdland. You have Mesro. You've got right next to Mesro is a little, darn it, I can't think of the name.
We're going to find it. We'll look it up for people.
There's tons of, there's actually a few, I shouldn't say tons, but there's a few good spots still in New York where they're pretty much sticking to jazz. So, yeah, I think so, 5 or 6.
And they weave it in. Every once in a while they'll weave it into a cabaret, which is also kind of disappearing. So you got into jazz. Now, what does that mean? When you decide that you're going to move from something like makeup, obviously you know people in the business, but it still can't be easy. What did you have to do to get an album out there?
Once I started singing, the whole thing kind of started in a kismet kind of way. But once I started to realize that it was something that I might want to do, I began to, take lessons and study under a vocal coach. And I would go to jam sessions and to try to get to know musicians and to sing. I even sang on the street here in Santa Monica. There used to the promenade is not the same as it used to be, but it was very busy at one point down on the 3rd Street Promenade, and you could go there and perform. And so I would go there in the beginning and perform on the street just to, get people to hear my name or to know me, and to also, get a chance to sing in front of people so that I could, sort of get that under my belt. And I did that for quite some time. And then I cut a a demo, which we started sending around to places, and I started getting bookings. And that's kind of how it started.
You see, again, there's this terrific line that I love called "What you focus on expands." And I just have so many people who have a dream, but they don't have a passion. And, have a dream. You've got to have a dream. Well, the fact is, it's not good enough.
Right.
You've got to have this passion. Just imagine, everybody listening. Here is somebody who has been at the top of her profession. She has created beauty for people who then walk down to collect their Emmy or their Academy Award or their Golden Globes, and they know in the back of their mind, Angie Wells has helped me feel comfortable going down the red carpet. And she has to go on Santa Monica and stand in the street and sing. And she's willing to do it. She's looking forward to doing it because it's not just a dream, it's also a passion. And did it take you a long time in life? I mean, to try to do that? Maybe I should ask you the opposite question. Why didn't you do it sooner?
I think, I can't say I have a really good answer to that, other than that, my generation and my family was the first to be able to go to college. And so I think, artistic careers weren't really a focus. It was sort of like, go to college, get a good education and get yourself a good job, and, you'll have stability. And so I don't think that, having an artistic career was sort of presented in a way of something that you could make a consistent living in. So, before I was a makeup artist, I was a corporate trainer. There's a lot of things happening here. So
yeah, because that was legit.
Right.
That was legitimate,
that was
right?
a legitimate job, right? And I actually was a corporate trainer and got laid off. I worked for a major insurance company, and instead of going back with the headhunters that they had hired to get us placed in other jobs, I decided I wanted to pursue my creativity, and that's when I went to school for cosmetology. So, the path hasn't been straight.
Right. Well, we've all had long histories, and I could just imagine your barber father if you went over and said, Dad, I think I'm going to be a jazz singer. I could just imagine what it's right.
Yes, it would have been, well, that's really nice, but make sure you go to school and get a good job.
You got to eat, Angie.
Right. That's right.
So, I remember when I decided I was a lawyer for a long, long time, and I had a really good radio show, and I had a nice, prominent name. And my mother, who I thought was going to be so proud, she said, "Does this mean you're not going to be a lawyer anymore?" I had won an Emmy. Does this mean you're not? Does this mean you're not going to be a lawyer anymore?
Yeah, because that generation, that
right,
the education and having a real job,
real job.
That's
of
right.
Course.
So I think that might have been why I didn't even think of it as something that I could, pursue seriously.
Well, I get it.
Dawned on me.
I get it. And we all get it. And that's why we're all so grateful that we're around for a while here to do what we really love and we want to do, and we have time to do it. And people like Angie Wells, don't forget AngieWellsMusic.com, trains us. You're a trainer. You're back to being a trainer, but you're a life trainer now just by showing what you do. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, hear a little bit more of her music, hear a little bit more of some news that you can use as a traveler. We come back. I want to talk about the themes, the civil rights themes, the messages in Angie's music. It's not just music. It's a movement. Truth Be Told is her latest album. You can find it at AngieWellsMusic.com. Of course, you can download it on iTunes. And are you going to want to? Because we're going to play a little bit of it right now. Don't you go anywhere.
Life keeps us all on the go. We're all moving so fast. Seems we're always multitasking, missing the moment at hand. I get out of bed in the morning and it's...
I just went to Las Vegas for the new year and I discovered a really extraordinary experience. Now, I had already been to MEOW WOLF, and that was in Santa Fe. But this one is called the Omega Mart, and it's really an incredible experience. You dive into a surreal supermarket filled with wonders from a tattooed raw chicken. Yep, you heard that right. To impossible products on the shelves. And you uncover hidden portals and you solve mysteries of a captivating family. So when you visit MEOW WOLF, it's part of an entertainment center called the Area 15, where the pizza is very good and the possibility for interactive games never ends. So you want to check out MEOW WOLF. The website is right on our show notes. It's a mind-bending adventure. And don't miss this immersive magic MEOW WOLF experience. Reality meets fantasy in the heart of Las Vegas. It's great for the whole family. It's accessible. It's what the Ageless Traveler is looking for.
Baby, there's always time for loving. No matter how busy life seems to be, there's always time for kissing and hugging.
You like art museums? Well, the ARTE Museum in Las Vegas is like nothing you've ever seen before. No, it is not an art gallery, nor is it a museum. It's a portal to a universe where creativity knows no limits. Now, picture this. You've seen those Van Gogh-inspired projected art. Well, this goes way beyond that. Here you're going to see waterfalls dancing on the walls. You'll walk through a forest of mesmerizing creatures. It takes about an hour and a half, a good hour and a half, to go through this magical haven. Every corner unveils a new surprise in art. Now, the centerpiece of the room is filled with layers of diverse art, from the captivating Korean masterpieces to the names you know, like Gauguin. That alone takes about 30 minutes. It's an enchanting journey. And if you're creative, you can actually paint fantastical creatures, and you'll see them on the walls. Yes, you're part of this immersive experience. If you've ever dreamed of creating your own creature, your own art, and seeing it come to life, well, it's the ARTE Museum in Las Vegas. Your imagination takes center stage.
I seem to be, there's always time for kissing and hugging.
Okay, now we are back, and I thank you for staying with us, because I could talk about this forever. And in this particular case, many times when I speak to musicians, they do not write their own music. They sing someone else's music, and they interpret, and that's very creative. But you, in fact, also write your own music, your own lyrics. And truth be told, is one of those things that's not only wonderful music, but a wonderful message. How did you come to that? And how did you pick that particular theme that is so important today?
Well, unfortunately, in the summer of 2020, we were all home and dealing with, unfortunately, the COVID shutdown, and also watching the news all day, mostly every day. I think a lot of us were. And unfortunately, a gentleman named George Floyd was sort of murdered before our eyes. And it really affected me. I think it affected a lot of people. People took to the streets. And I just remember, like, the following week, I was just taking a ride in my car, because pretty much that was all I could do as sort of an activity at that point. We were shut down, so we weren't going out much. So I would just get in the car sometimes and ride up the PCH as a way of clearing my mind. And I was taking a ride in the car, and this sort of melody, it was very spiritual, I'd say. It reminded me of being in like a little church in the South where they didn't have, instruments. They would call it raising a hymn, and they would begin it by tapping their feet on the floor to set a rhythm. And then somebody would start to hum, and then somebody else would start to hum, and a harmony would happen. And so basically this particular day when I was riding in the car, I was kind of hearing this like low hum and foot tapping. And then, truth be told, this sort of phrase came to me, and I can kind of really say I remember hearing just the line, "Brother George died with a knee on his neck." And that was the first line of the song. And I began writing the lyrics. The song literally wrote itself. Once I sat down to write the lyrics, I heard the melody, I heard everything together. And I decided after I wrote that song that it was time for me to do a new album to talk about the various truths of my life, things that I had lived, but that were also truths that many of us have in common. We've all, experienced heartbreak at some point. I think most people have.
Yes, but by now for sure. And if you haven't, you really haven't lived. Or you forgot. That's
we've all had love. We want joy in our lives. We want, friendship in our lives. So these were things that I kind of focused on for the album. And truth be told is just one of the things that were something that I felt was very important to talk about because it is a truth of our lives. It is something that happens. The other song that I know you had mentioned, There's Always Time for Lovin'. I wrote that because it literally is, we're all too busy.
Yes.
Everybody's doing 3 things at once. And, it's like we have to take a minute out and remember to take time for loving. And I just felt that was important.
It is so true. The reason Angie Wells, AngieWellsMusic.com, you'll be able to get all of this beautiful music, mentions that particular song is I heard it and I started to laugh when I first heard it because it starts with something important to me, and that is multitasking. I know they tell me, the neuroscientists say you don't get anything done if you multitask. I can't help it.
Right.
And then I said, well, now where is this going to go? And where does it go? It goes into, well, you better make time for loving. Right. And it is so true. Older adults, there's still a lot of older adult couples. And you say, what are you doing? We're busy. We're so busy. It's not that we don't have sex anymore. We just don't have time for it.
Right.
We're too busy. If you listen to that song, you will laugh. Believe me, as well as the fact that maybe you'll make a little bit of time for loving. Who knows?
Right.
So all possibilities. Now, before we wrap up and we go to our wonderful Zoom meeting, which is what everybody's really waits for, I do need to ask you this question.
Sure.
With regard to younger folks, are you seeing jazz? Because I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a positive answer, glomming on to that particular music. I get so worried, honestly, when I look at the faces of the folks around me when I go to listen to jazz. Mm-hmm. It looks like the 50th high school reunion. It's just
it's not a lot of young people.
Not a lot of young people. Yeah. What do you think?
I think different avenues of jazz have some young people that are interested in it. It's just this whole movement. It's called the Jazz is Dead movement, but it's not, but it's jazz. That's the thing. So I have to say, I'm not quite sure that I totally understand it, but I know that the people who promote those shows, the audiences are filled with young people. I mean, loaded. Now, there's not a lot of older people there. Right. Which is interesting, but it's also a different kind of jazz. They're not working with the Great American Songbook. They're doing more of the avant-garde sort of style of jazz or more free form. And I think that's what's drawing the younger crowd. They're not really seeming to be there for the Great American Songbook type of jazz anymore, or the standards that sort of people really have been used to hearing over the years. Now, I know that Samara Joy, a lot of people seem to like her young and old. So, she is definitely drawing some of the younger folks, I would say, in. But there seems to be, there are younger people who listen, but it seems, like I said, that they're listening to a different style of jazz. Now, I will tell you, however, when I was in New York, there were lots of young people in the clubs. Yeah. Now, you see, I think a lot of this has to do with access. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking a lot about it because Great American Songbook
swing, even Cole Porter, traditional jazz, modern jazz is great. The thing is, though, that without cabaret, it's very difficult because all of this kind of music is very personal.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we love to do is listen to you, see you, and we get a relationship, and then people will go anywhere for that particular person.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't see it, and if it's only through digital, access, it's not as easy. Jazz is such a personal thing. Sit on the floor, talking about travel. Go to Louisiana, go to New
Mm-hmm.
Orleans, go to Preservation Hall,
Mm-hmm.
and sit on the floor and listen
Mm-hmm.
to, and jazz will become in your bones, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
no matter who you are. Listen to it on the radio in the car for the first time of your life because some older person switched it on.
Right.
I don't know. So I'm hoping that there'll be more live performances, affordable and with
Mm-hmm.
access to everyone. Because
Yes.
you talked about civil rights and civil rights messages. And I mentioned during a little break, Strange Fruit. Now, those people who have never heard that song, it's a song about lynching is what it's
Mm-hmm.
really about in the
Yes.
sense.
Yes, it is.
But this is a song that by itself is a play. It's
Yes,
a play.
it is. Yes,
You
it
can
is.
have one person go out on the stage, sing that song, and you've seen an entire pageant.
Yes, you have.
So the only young people I know who are studying it is they're studying it in school.
Mm-hmm.
But they're studying it the way you would study a history book,
Mm-hmm.
more than music. And so maybe we can get that into the schools and then transition into beyond its point in time to its relevancy today.
Yes. Well, it's interesting. Unfortunately, I mean, I would love for that to happen, but there seems to be this movement to try to paint over that part of our history.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's pros and cons of that too.
Yes.
Because you have to move on, but how do you move on and still remember?
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying that we are trying to paint over it. I'm saying
yeah.
certain people are, wanting to get rid of books that talk about certain things.
Yeah, well, good luck.
So,
good luck to that. Good, yeah. Good luck. Let's see how that. How's that working for them? Let's ask that question. How you doing with that?
Yeah, right. So
yeah. Well.
It is something that I think there was a time from what I understand that jazz was actually part of a lot of schools would have jazz bands.
Yes.
High schools would have jazz bands, and as the music became less popular in the 60s, a lot of that started to fade out in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I saw it again. I was actually at a parade, the light parade here in Palm Springs, and I will tell you that they had 4 or 5 major high school bands, and they jazzed everything up. So that's a very good point you're making. I didn't put 2 and 2 together there. Very good point. And I'll finish with this. Those of you who do love to travel, please travel with us. Now, we're talking to Angie Wells. We're worried about jazz. You want to worry about Gilbert and Sullivan. Nobody listens to operetta anymore, and we're going on 4 Gilbert and Sullivan trips. So there you go. So listen to this, folks. We'll be right back to say goodbye to Angie and make our transition to YouTube. And I will tell you all about our Gilbert and Sullivan trips. Gilbert and Sullivan. Are those names you know? Well, they are the famous authors of the Gilbert and Sullivan operettas. Many of them you know, some of them from high school, like Pirates of Penzance. But if you love operetta or light opera in general, and you love river cruises and travel with us. Now, the National Gilbert and Sullivan Opera Company of Britain offers 5 beautiful river cruises at about half the price of what you would pay at comparable or even lesser river cruises that you see advertised everywhere. I've gone on most of those cruises, and they are magnificent. For half the price, you get twice the entertainment, and in my opinion, a lot better food, and definitely the same itinerary. Everything is included, whether you go on the Danube, the Mekong, or the Douro, and more. So get interested in Gilbert and Sullivan first, and then if you love it, you'll be able to hear some of the most famous singers from the opera company up front and personal every single night on these beautiful cruises as you tour all day long. Simply go to agelesstraveler.com, featured travel, click on River Cruises, and read all about it. And we are personal friends of the folks who run this. And so if you're interested, you will be talking directly to Oliver. He'll tell you everything that you need to know about making your decisions going with us on these wonderful Ageless Traveler river cruises with theatrical adventures at sea. That's agelesstraveler.com, featured travel. Okay, we are back, and we thank you so much, but I'm going to get complaints, and I want to make sure I don't. I know what's going to happen, Angie. People are going to ask me, because they love what you told them about makeup. Why didn't I ask you anything about men? So today, even my husband, who really, whatever is the antithesis of a fashion plate, it's him.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm sort of laughing because I totally get that.
Right. It's the truth. But guess what? He dyes his hair.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a miracle. If that's happening, God knows what men who care are doing these days. So, and I know you were the makeup artist for Mad Men and lots of other men. What do you have to say about that? Is there anything that, if you're not preparing for camera, a man should do?
Well, first off, I do want to clear this up. I was part of the team for Mad Men. I did not run that show. All the other shows that you mentioned, I run the makeup department. So I was part of the team for that. I like to make sure that I make that distinction so that people don't think that I was doing John Hamm's makeup, because I was not.
Understood.
So I just want to clear that up. I was part of the team, and I was part of the team that was nominated for an Emmy. The other Emmy that I got as my own, as a department head. So I just like to make that distinction.
And that was for which one? The Emmy came for which one?
The second Emmy was for a project called Gifted Hands. And believe it or not, it was based on a book that was about Ben Carson as a neurosurgeon, which was the job that he had, which he should stay in. He was a brilliant neurosurgeon, and was the first apparently to separate twins conjoined at the head and have them both live. So it was a brilliant story, and I was proud to be, part of telling that part of his story. So I got my first Emmy nom was for that, and I ran the makeup department on that. Okay, I'll get back to your question.
No, so that proves that you're allowed to answer this question, because it's not an easy question. Yes. If I said, if they were going for the camera, okay, there's a million things men ought to do. But I'm talking about the guys, walking down the street.
I would say that, like women, men should also be wearing sunscreen. That's really important these days. Everybody should be wearing sunscreen. Everybody, and particularly men, because they don't. A lot of times, I look at my husband. Sometimes he'll just put whatever he's putting on his hands on his face as his moisturizer, even though I have lots of products here. But I definitely say that sunscreen and skincare is very important. Grooming of facial hair. That's when a man's facial hair is groomed, it looks much nicer than when it's just sort of shabby. So I think that's also an important thing. But the most important thing for men, I would say, is skincare and sunscreen. So cleansing products, moisturizers, and your sunscreens are going to be very important.
So thank you so much for that. And you're absolutely right on the facial hair. Do you hear that, Stuart? Very important. Eyebrows should not look like hoot owls, but I'm just saying. Just saying, that's all. Okay. Very good. So we thank you so much, Angie. And after this announcement, we're going. And everybody else, remember, This is the Ageless Traveler, and here's a little bit more about how you can get involved with lifelong travel made easy. Now, you may know that Ageless Traveler is dedicated to supporting individuals in their life purpose and love of travel. But did you know that we also advise the travel industry about active adult travelers and advocate for their proper treatment? Please visit agelesstraveler.com and click the menu button that deals with tourist boards and tour operators and tour venues. If you're in the industry, including a Ministry of Tourism, hotels, or restaurants, please use our complimentary Boomer and Active Adult Audit Service to help you capture the Ageless Traveler's needs with your products and services, accommodations, and your tours. Well, we've come to the end of our discussion. Thank you for listening. And see the show notes on agelesstraveler.com for resources we mentioned on the show. Click the join button and become a member of our Facebook salon. Now, salon members can ask Angie and any of our other experts and me any question they have. We have a fan list page right on the show notes, so you can even send us a voicemail. And please visit the Ageless Traveler YouTube channel to meet Angie and hear more about her music. Now, if wellness travel interests you, you'll love our next episode. We talk with author, coach, and inspiring sound bath leader, Susan Somers. This is Adrienne Berg for the Ageless Traveler, here to ensure that you never stop traveling.